This morning, President Trump waking up without his favorite megaphone.
Let me ask you, should I keep the Twitter going or not? Keep it going?
Twitter permanently banning the commander-in-chief's personal account with 88 million followers after an initial 12-hour lockout following Wednesday's riots at the U.S. Capitol. The company, run by Jack Dorsey, saying after close review of recent tweets from the real Donald Trump account and the context around them, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence.
According to Mark Zuckerberg, in a statement, he said the shocking events of the last 24 hours clearly demonstrate that President Donald Trump intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power to his elected successor, Joe Biden.
Parler, which we told you about, is seeing massive and unprecedented surge in traffic. The site even experienced server outage because of new users tonight. Why? A couple of reasons. Mostly this. Parler is a free speech alternative to Twitter. They don't censor you. You can say what you want. Parler's succeeding. What happens now? Of course, Silicon Valley is trying to kill it. Google has just removed Parler without any warning from its App Store. Apple and Amazon, which provide services that keep services like Parler online, have also threatened to shut Parler down.
Apple has suspended a highly conservative social media app after it failed to prevent the spread of posts inciting violence. The service had been given a 24-hour warning to submit a moderation plan.
The International Monetary Fund is reportedly lobbying to use individuals' online web histories to set your credit score.
The IMF wants to get their buddies at big tech in on the action. According to Gizmodo, the researchers want to use the data from your browsing, search, and purchase history to create a more accurate mechanism for determining the credit rating of an individual. Imagine going to your bank to take out a mortgage for a couple paying for their first home. And the account manager is able to know your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, your most recent purchases online, even your random internet search history. All of this represents a bigger and much more powerful reach of these institutions into the lives of the consumer, the American people.
COVID-19 continues to spread around the globe. You can help stop COVID-19 by participating in contact tracing. How does contact tracing work? Contact tracing is a system that has been used for decades to stop infectious diseases. A contact is anyone who has had direct physical contact or was within 1 meter for at least 15 minutes with an infected person, even if that person does not have symptoms.
So, what is contact tracing, how effective is it, and how do we implement it? But oftentimes, contact tracing is not so simple. People typically don't keep detailed logs of everyone they've been near all the time, and our memories are imperfect. A subset of people may just plain not want to comply. Or the original infected person might not want to cooperate and reveal who they've been in contact with. Still, leveraging technology could help contact tracers cast a bigger net. Recently, Google and Apple announced that they would be building a similar feature directly into their mobile operating systems and are hoping to launch it by mid-May.
First time, Google and Apple will be shipping their contact tracing software. Just getting off the press call with both Apple and Google, they say that multiple states here in the U.S. have expressed interest, and 22 countries on 5 continents have also expressed interest in using this software as well.
Apple and Google, the global duopoly of mobile operating systems, are building a mass surveillance system that will be remotely introduced into every connected iPhone and Android device in the world. This is one of those good intentions that's paving our way into a dystopian mass surveillance future, much like the Patriot Act has been doing since 9/11. We need to have a serious discussion about measures that will fundamentally alter the way we live our modern lives. Complacency and blind trust in authorities is the worst thing we can do in times of this crisis. This new contact tracing technology, currently under development by Apple and Google, requires some serious investigation. So in effect, no smartphone user have the ability to express consent upon forced API updates. There will be no voting on this, no public discourse, no debate. Just 2 tech giants and the government making decisions about lives of hundreds of millions of people.
Connecticut Department of Public Health is working with Microsoft to launch an initiative called Contact. They hope to launch it over the next month. The program is geared toward increasing contact tracing in our state.
Well, contact tracing is something that we've done for a really long time to fight off infectious and diseases, including the measles. But now the process is going to be automated. So instead of these folks having to call up people, they can just do it in an automated process. It's online, and it's going to put all of our local health departments on one page.
Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation. Now, according to Gates, the only way to responsibly end the shutdowns and stay-at-home orders is for a pretty vast surveillance system to be put in place. Writing in the Washington Post, the United States can follow Germany's example, interview everyone who tests positive, and use a database to make sure someone follows up with all their contacts. He notes that some people have proposed allowing phones to detect other phones that are near them by using Bluetooth and emitting sounds that humans can't hear. And if someone tested positive, their phone would send a message to other phones, and their owners could, go get tested. Well, how this information would be stored, whether it would be stored, and to whom it would be accessible, I mean, it's anyone's guess. We don't know any of this yet.
What if a worse disease catches on? What if there's a war between us and China over this bullshit? There was a crazy letter that Germany wrote to China yesterday. Crazy. The head of Germany wrote some letter directly to the head guy in China, talking about the only reason why you're in power is because of surveillance, and what have you done to the world? Like what you guys have done because of your disgusting pride, and you've hidden the facts from people. You've tried to distort the reality, and because of that, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. Like, whoa, it was deep.
Dear President Xi Jinping, your embassy in Berlin has addressed me in an open letter because we asked in our newspaper, Bild, whether China should pay for the massive economic damage the coronavirus is inflicting worldwide. Please let me respond. First, you rule by surveillance. You wouldn't be president without surveillance. You monitor everything, every citizen, but you refuse to monitor the diseased wet markets in your country. You shut down every newspaper and website that is critical of your rule, but not the stalls where bat soup is sold. You're not only monitoring your people, you're endangering them, and with them, the rest of the world. Second, surveillance is a denial of freedom. And a nation that is not free is not creative. A nation that is not innovative does not invent anything. This is why you have made your country the world champion in intellectual property theft. China enriches itself with the inventions of others instead of inventing on its own. The reason China does not innovate and invent is that you don't let the young people in your country think freely. Why are your toxic laboratories not as secure as your prisons for political prisoners? In your country, your people are whispering about you. Your power is crumbling. You have created an inscrutable, non-transparent China. Before Corona, China was known as a surveillance state. Now, China is known as a surveillance state that infected the world with a deadly disease.
It's right. It's correct. Yeah. Because China they don't admit any fault ever. Whenever anything goes wrong, they cover everything up, and there's so many people that criticize the government in China, and they just wind up getting ghosted. They just disappear. They vanish.
Yeah.
What scares me is that if we give in to that kind of they have apps on their phone right now that give them a social score. So like if you jaywalk, you lose points.
It's almost like Minority Report.
It's almost like Black Mirror.
Score. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. It's scary.
So we've got a third party wearing sunglasses just out the window.
You're not gonna kill me.
Goodbye, Crow.
You're not gonna kill me.
Goodbye, Crow.
Wait!
Wait. You say something, Chief?
No.
I'll get this one.
We got time on this one, Jed.
I see there's one standby seat on another plane leaving tonight. That's reserved for members of our Prime Flight program. You got to be a 4.2 or over to qualify.
Oh, I'm a 4.2.
I'm afraid you're actually a 4.183.
Well, that's not my fault. Some woman dinged me down in the cab. Can't you just...
I'm sorry, it won't let me book it without the correct ranking.
But it's so close.
There's just nothing I can do.
Christ, I mean, surely.
I'm gonna have to ask you to moderate your language there.
Can you call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Can you just call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Call the fucking supervisor.
Okay, that's profanity. We're zero tolerance on profanity.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Yeah, I have to serve the next customer.
No.
Step away, ma'am.
You've got to fucking help me.
I've called security.
Oh, no, please don't do that. I'm a 5-star in you. 5 stars.
What's the issue here, Hannah?
Intimidation and profanity.
Oh, no, I was not intimidating.
Don't speak, ma'am.
I was just trying to...
Okay, so, in order to restore calm, I'm invoking my authority as airport security to dock you 1 full ranking point as a punitive measure. This is a temporary measure.
No!
The score reverts to normal in 24 hours.
No, but I
During
need
this
it now.
Period, all down votes are subject to a ×2 multiplier.
×2?
We recommend you avoid negative feedback at this time.
I'm on double damage?
Please, remove yourself from the airport immediately.
Morning, officer.
Extensive criminal history, multiple felonies. What's in the bag?
Hair products, mostly. I'm just fucking. Hey, I'm just going to work, man. There's nothing in the fucking bag. Come on, I'm just going to work, man. Come on.
Check.
Nothing in there, is it?
Zero tolerance policy applies to all citizens.
Oh, shit.
You must report immediately to your parole officer. Thank you, citizen.
No, thank you.
Before we start, I'd just like to explain...
Max DaCosta, violation of Penal Code 2219, today at bus stop 34B.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. You see, I believe there's been a misunderstanding.
Immediate extension of parole by a further 8 months.
Wait, what? No. I can explain what happened. I just made a joke, and, you know...
Stop talking. Elevation in heart rate detected. Would you like a pill?
No. Thank you. What I'd like to do is explain
Stop
what
talking.
happened.
Personality matrix suggests a 78.3% chance of regression to old behavior patterns. Grand theft auto. Assault with a deadly weapon. Resisting arrest. Would you like to talk to a human?
No, I am okay. Thank you.
Are you being sarcastic and or abusive?
Negative.
Right now, our world is also battling a virus that is affecting the daily lives of billions of people. We've also seen the profound impact our products have had. People are relying on them more than ever to remain connected to family and friends, to do their work, to express their creativity, to be entertained as well as to entertain others. Today, the world is counting on all of us and on the products and experiences that we create to move forward.
Do you have any comments on what's going on at Foxconn because of all the press around?
Oh, sure, yeah. We're pretty on top of that. I mean, you go to this place, and it's a factory, but my gosh, I mean, they've got restaurants and movie theaters and hospitals and swimming pools, and I mean, for a factory, it's a pretty nice factory. But they've had, if you count the attempted suicides, 13 so far this year. And while that is still, they have 400,000 people at this place, so 13 out of 400,000 is 26 per year so far for 400,000 people, or let's say 7 per 100,000 people. That's still under the U.S. suicide rate of 11 per 100,000 people, but it's really troubling.
Right, it's in one place too. It's in one.
Well, you measure it by number of people. You measure it by numbers of people.
Right.
So we had this in my hometown of Palo Alto. We've had some copycat suicides where high school kids have committed suicide by throwing themselves in front of Amtrak, and it's very troubling. So we're over there trying to understand what's happening, and more importantly, trying to understand how we can help.
46 13 08 67 46 90. Starkey Corners, Maine. 48 03 01 91, 2635, Prairie Portage, Minnesota. These are latitudes and longitudes. There are at least 10 others. You appear to be routing orders across the border into the U.S.
Extraordinary. Gentlemen, we need to move on this.
And if we give into that kind of surveillance over here,
right,
there's a real dark end to all that stuff. There's a real dark end. The bright side is you're like, oh, well, maybe everybody will keep their shit together and be nice. Or maybe the government will be watching every goddamn thing you do all day long and hold that over you. And then they'll use that in order to gain more political power. That's just as possible and more likely.
What are you doing to protect us from a tyrannical government?
In 2007, Yahoo filed a lawsuit against the Patriot Act parts of PRISM and FISA. We fought that. We were the key plaintiff. A lot of people have wondered about that case and who it was. It was us.
You lost.
We lost.
And then you caved. Not you. You weren't there yet, but.
Right. But the thing is, like when you lose, so we fought, we lost.
Yeah.
If you don't comply, it's treason.
Yeah, treason.
So, and which in terms of the NSA, we can't talk about those things because they're classified.
What is? I mean, why?
And so I mean,
let's just say, like right now, you were just to tell us the truth about what's going on, the stuff that's classified. Like, what do you think would happen to you?
I mean, releasing classified information is treason.
And then what happens?
Which generally lands you, incarcerated.
Well, I want to thank you. I've asked this question of every single person except Mark Benioff because he was on this monologue that was too good to stop about Steve Jobs. But I've asked everyone else, and I haven't gotten a single answer yet that I thought was even an honest answer.
I think most of the guys. The only guys I have trouble with are the Google guys.
Really?
The
Larry and Sergey you have trouble with?
Larry specifically. I think.
Larry per se?
Yeah, Larry per se.
Why?
Because he makes the decisions over there. He runs that company. No one else runs that company. And they decided, let me be very clear.
But I mean, you think they're evil?
I think what they did was absolutely evil.
And you blame Larry Page?
100% Larry Page.
So if what they did is evil, that makes Larry Page evil?
No, it makes what he did evil, which is quite different. And I know his slogan is "Don't be evil."
Exactly, that's what I'm talking
about. And I think he slipped up this one time.
For me, I guess privacy and security are a really important thing. We think about it in terms of both things, and I think that you can't have privacy without security. So let me just talk about security first, because you asked about Snowden and all of that, and then I'll say a little bit about privacy. I think. For me, it's tremendously disappointing that the government sort of secretly did all this stuff and didn't tell us. I don't think we can have a democracy if we're having to protect you and our users from the government for stuff that we've never had a conversation about.
Right.
And I don't mean we have to know what the particular terrorist attack they're worrying about protecting us from, but we do need to know what the parameters of it is, what kind of surveillance the government's going to do and how and why.
Where do you come down on what NSA is doing?
Well, the great thing is we live in a democracy. If we don't like what NSA is doing, we can just get rid of the government and put in a different government. We've been collecting this information for so long, and long before NSA was collecting it. Let me tell you who was collecting it. American Express. Bank of Visa, all of your credit card data. We have all of your financial records.
The International Monetary Fund is reportedly lobbying to use individuals' online web histories to set your credit score.
This whole issue of privacy is utterly fascinating to me. Who's ever heard of this information being misused by the government? In what way?
Well, let me just hear you clearly. You're saying whatever the NSA is doing is okay with me.
It's great. It's great. It's essential. By the way, President Obama thinks it's essential. It's essential if we want to minimize the kind of strikes that we just had in Boston.
But what point would it be alarming for you in terms of government surveillance? At what point would your red line be crossed?
If the government used it to do political targeting if the Democrats used it to go after Republicans, if the Republicans used it to go after Democrats. In other words, if it became we stopped looking for terrorists and we started looking for people with on the other side of the aisle.
Uncle John! Uncle John!
Wow, someone needed a hug. I saw you on the slate and I thought to myself, how can I miss seeing a guest lecture by the inimitable John Nash? What's wrong?
I got myself into something. I think I might need some help.
Well, now you tell me. What is it?
Professor Nash, welcome.
After?
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can, by any means possible, that it believes on the grounds of sort of a self-certification that they serve the national interest. Originally, we saw that focus very narrowly tailored as foreign intelligence gathered overseas. Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. But I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
And conventional number theory, it breaks down in the face of relativistic exploration. Sometimes our expectations are betrayed by the numbers. Variables are impossible to assign any rational value.
Professor Nash!
Hold it! Professor Nash? Professor Nash? Let's avoid a scene, shall we?
Help me! Somebody! I know who you are! I know who you are! No. Charles! Charles, the Russians! Charles, the Russians! Call somebody! Call somebody, Charles! The Russians!
Steady the leg.
Get away from me. Stay away from me!
All better.
Now, there's actually a type of manipulation called gaslighting. And what gaslighting is, it comes from a 1944 film called Gaslight, starring Ingrid Bergman. And it's about a woman who is manipulated by her husband into believing that she is going crazy. And what happened in those days is if you turned on a light in one room, it would dim all the other lights throughout the house because there was only a certain amount of gas that could light the whole house. And so you knew somebody else was in the house in another room turning on the light if you saw the lights flicker. And so she noticed that the lights would flicker every night after her husband had gone away somewhere, supposedly maybe to see friends or whatnot. He was actually going to the attic. But he convinces her that what she's seeing is not true. She's imagining that the gaslight is going down, when in reality she knows better, but she believes him. And so that's what it means to gaslight somebody, is to convince them to deny their own reality. So gaslighting from an abuser makes a victim doubt their own instincts and sense of reality.
The programs that have been discussed over the last couple of days in the press are secret in the sense that they're classified, but they're not secret in the sense that when it comes to telephone calls, every member of Congress has been briefed on this program. With respect to all these programs, the relevant intelligence committees are fully briefed on these programs. These are programs that have been authorized by broad bipartisan majorities repeatedly since 2006. And so I think at the outset it's important to understand that your duly elected representatives have been consistently informed on exactly what we're doing. Now, let me take the two issues separately. When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls.
So gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse. It's where a person doubts the reality of another person, leaving that other person very, very confused. Gaslighting is sort of a signature tool of the narcissist, and they're often engaging in it to protect their fragile egos, to keep the world in line with their own reality, with little regard of how much it hurts another person when we doubt theirs. So again, it's very much a tool of manipulation, of emotional abuse, of, again, second-guessing someone else's reality.
What the intelligence community is doing is looking at phone numbers and durations of calls. They are not looking at people's names, and they're not looking at content. But by sifting through this so-called metadata, they may identify potential leads with respect to folks who might engage in terrorism.
Go easy now. Thorazine takes a little while to wear off. Sorry about the restraints. You've got one hell of a right hook.
2 years later, after 9/11, a friend of mine tells me about this new contractor program they're using. Costs $4 billion to deploy, modeled after mine, but with no filters, no automation. Ingested everything.
Okay, but there must have been some bigger picture, right? I mean, spending that kind of money, they're not stupid.
You would think intelligence would count for something in the intelligence business. But you want to know what it really is? What really sets the agenda? Military industrial happiness management. You keep the coffers open in Congress, you keep the money flowing to the contractors. Efficiency. Results? They go out the window.
Did you ever say anything to anybody?
Yeah, I went to legal. We filed complaints. Now here I am, tucked away, teaching you. Maybe that's more important in the long run.
And how good are the Americans? What can the NSA do with this device if they wanted to get into my life? This is turned off, it's inert.
Right, the NSA, the Russian intelligence service, the Chinese intelligence service, any intelligence service in the world that has significant funding and a real technological research team can own that phone the minute it connects to their network. As soon as you turn it on, it can be theirs. They can turn it into a microphone, they can take pictures from it, they can take the data off of it.
Do you think he's a traitor?
I know he damaged the country, and the Obama administration will deal with it.
But do you think it's possible for one man to really damage the security of the nation?
I think he damaged the security of the country.
And when it comes to surveillance, there can be real-time understanding of what you're Googling.
I put the program in place to protect the country.
To put it bluntly, if the enemy is calling to America, we really need to know what they're saying. And we need to know what they're thinking. And we need to know who they're talking to. This is a different kind of struggle that we've ever faced before. It's essential that we understand the mentality of these killers. And so therefore, we worked with Congress to pass the Protect America Act, which everybody knows has expired. And I want to share with you the core of the problem. And the problem is, should companies who are believed to have helped us after 9/11 till today get information necessary to protect the country be sued? And my answer is absolutely not. They shouldn't be sued.
And one of the certainties is civil liberties were guaranteed.
So you don't think there's a compromise between security and privacy?
I think there needs to be a balance, and I think, as the president explained, there's a proper balance.
Don't want to criticize the Obama administration. Is that something that you've really made a decision
I think
not
it does
to
any
do?
good. It's a hard job. He's got plenty on his agenda, and it's difficult, and a former president doesn't need to make it harder.
We heard from two former presidents today who used strong words to speak out against division and anger in our politics.
At a time when our politics just seems so divided and so angry and so nasty. You notice I haven't been commenting a lot on politics lately. But here's one thing I know. If you have to win a campaign by dividing people, you're not going to be able to govern them.
But strongly rejected claims that the country's racial divide has deepened.
So when we start suggesting that somehow there's this enormous polarization and we're back to the situation in the 60s, and that's just not true. You're not seeing riots, and you're not seeing police going after people who are protesting peacefully.
Bigotry seems emboldened. Our politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication. We've seen our discourse degraded by casual cruelty. At times it can seem like the forces pulling us apart are stronger than the forces binding us together. We've seen nationalism distorted into nativism. We've forgotten the dynamism that immigration has always brought to America. Bullying and prejudice in our public life sets a national tone, provides permission for cruelty and bigotry, and compromises the moral education of children. The only way to pass along civic values is to first live up to them.
In an election season where the Bush family has largely stayed silent,
The strongest person usually isn't the loudest one in the room.
just one Bush is rallying for Republican unity.
And you know, from Team Bush, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but you know what? You get back up and you help the man that won, and you make sure that we stop Hillary Clinton.
Jeb's son, George P. Bush, is the Texas Land Commissioner. He called for all Republicans to unite back in August. But Tuesday night at a rally in Texas, George P. publicly implied he may be the only member of the powerful political family actually voting for Donald Trump, according to the Dallas News, even speculating to the Associated Press that his grandfather, George H.W., and his uncle, George W., could vote for Hillary Clinton. It's a possibility that first rocked the political establishment in September when Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, the niece of JFK, posed with Bush 41 and posted this on Facebook. Quote, "The president told me he's voting for Hillary."
Your husband and Bill Clinton have become good friends.
That's right. My husband, Bill Clinton, and I have become great friends. And Bill visits us every summer. And Bill's father wasn't around. And I think that he thinks of George a little bit like the father he didn't have.
Starting with my work with President George H.W. Bush on the tsunami and the aftermath of Katrina, people began to joke that I was getting so close to the Bush family I had become the black sheep son. My mother told me not to talk too long today. And Barbara, I will not let you down. There is one other connection I have that I think is largely unknown, which is that a couple of times a year in his second term, George Bush would call me just to talk politics. And a chill went up and down my spine when Laura said, that all their records were digitized. Dear God, I hope there's no record of those conversations in this vast and beautiful building.
CNN's Jamie Gangel has confirmed that George H.W. has said in private conversations he will vote for Clinton. The unlikely alliance between two of politics' biggest rivals began after a grueling primary when Jeb Bush and Donald Trump engaged in a knockdown fight.
This is a tough business to run for president.
I know you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is real tough. You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Or if your social score is like manipulated or wrong.
The downside is a lack of freedom, and that's the whole reason why the United States is so innovative. The whole reason is this we have this spirit over here, this spirit of freedom. Right. You know, that we can do more, we can get more shit done, we can come up with ideas. Yeah. We celebrate this sort of creative, the sort of creative spirit that we think of when we think of the United States. We think of freedom, we think of creativity. There's so much innovation done over here. The moment you start clamping down on people and taking away freedom, you're also going to take away that creativity. You're also going to take away that innovative thought mentality. You're going to make people scared.
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place. And this is actually a concern that I have and that I try to root out in the company, is making sure that we don't have any bias in the work that we do. And I think it is a fair concern that that people would at least wonder about.
Let me ask this question. Are you aware of any ad or page that has been taken down from Planned Parenthood?
Senator, I'm not, but let me just...
How about MoveOn.org?
Sorry?
How about MoveOn.org?
I'm not specifically aware of those.
How about any Democratic candidate for office?
I'm not specifically aware. I mean, I'm not sure.
In your testimony, you say that you have 15 to 20,000 people working on security and content review. Do you know the political orientation of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review?
No, Senator. We do not generally ask people about their political orientation when they're joining the company.
Facebook and Twitter and Google have massive power. They have a monopoly on public discourse in the online arena. I will say it's dismaying listening to the questions from our Democratic colleagues, because consistently the message from Senate Democrats is for Facebook and Twitter and Google to censor more, to abuse their power more, to silence voices that Senate Democrats disagree with more. That is very dangerous if we want to maintain a free and fair democracy, if we want to maintain free speech. There was a time when Democrats embraced and defended the principles of free speech. There was a time when Democrats embraced and defended the principles of a free press. Instead, there is a demand, use even more power to silence dissent, and that's a totalitarian instinct that I think is very dangerous.
Well, how are you handling the President of the United States to let him know and let people who are using your platform that this is misinformation, is it not?
I certainly think that anyone who's saying that the election is going to be fraudulent, I think that's problematic.
We have seen big tech, we've seen Twitter and Facebook actively interfering in this election in a way that has no precedent in the history of our country. Yesterday, the New York Post broke a story alleging serious corruption of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden concerning Ukraine. You can censor Politico. Presumably, you can censor the New York Times or any other media outlet. Mr. Dorsey, who the hell elected you and put you in charge of what the media are allowed to report and what the American people are allowed to hear? And why do you persist in behaving as a Democratic super PAC, silencing views to the contrary of your political beliefs?
Well, we're not doing that, and this is why I opened.
Thank you, Senator.
So I hear the concerns and acknowledge them, but we want to fix it with more transparency.
Hunter Biden joined his father, Air Force Two, takes a trip to Asia. They stop in China. Literally less than 2 weeks later, Hunter Biden's company inked a $1 billion private equity deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese government's Bank of China.
We were told to look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. We all know about Joe's son, Hunter Biden. A corrupt Ukrainian oligarch put Hunter on the board of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector. None. Yet he was paid millions to do nothing. He only had one qualification that mattered. He was the son of the man in charge of distributing U.S. aid to Ukraine.
You didn't have any extensive knowledge about natural gas or Ukraine itself, though?
No, but I think that I had as much knowledge as anybody else that was on the board, if not more.
In the list that you gave me of the reasons why you're on that board, you did not list the fact that you were the son of the vice president.
Yeah, no.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
And recently reported information revealed that a few months after Hunter Biden joined that corrupt company's board, the Obama-Biden State Department began doing business with them, even when it remained under investigation for corruption. And it gets worse. That very same company was being investigated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless that same prosecutor was fired.
They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said, I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, "You're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
President Trump,
and I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're
exactly
going?
What
this is
told.
Where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
Putin, Russia hates Russia, Putin, Russia, Moscow, Russian, pro-Russian, the Russians, Moscow.
What people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
There's people who say there's no evidence just are lying through their teeth, or they're deliberately ignorant or willfully blind to the truth.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. See the gentleman in the red? So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
We have a person who's come forward with an affidavit inside of Dominion that has said that Dominion observed the 100,000 phony ballots that were brought in at 4 o'clock in the morning on November 5th that were all Biden ballots that appeared by every measure to be phony ballots since they were brought in the back door. They were not in the proper containers. They were sticking out of the paper bags and cardboard boxes. And they were told that these were ballots that were needed to catch up to Trump because Trump was too far ahead.
Cruelty and injustice.
intolerance, depression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity.
This nation has been victimized by rampant election fraud in the past.
Right.
And there's so much evidence of it this year. Don't say it's not true. I'd like to cite the evidence.
It's not.
We
have cited the evidence so many times on CNN.
It's
irresponsible and dangerous and reckless. There are facts and there are
Pew
untruths.
Foundation says 1 out of every 8 voter registrations is either a dead person, a duplicate, or an illegal voter.
The Secretary of State. The Wisconsin Republican continued to maintain that there was fraudulent voting in the 2020 election, as did committee member Rand Paul.
Oh, good God.
But we can't just say it didn't happen. We can't just say, 4,000 people voted in Nevada that were non-citizens, and we're just going to ignore it. We're going to sweep it under the rug and say, the courts have decided the facts. The courts have not decided the facts. The courts never looked at the facts. The courts don't like elections, and so they stayed out of it by finding an excuse, standing or otherwise, to stay out of it. But the fraud happened. The election in many ways was stolen, and the only way it'll be fixed is by, in the future, reinforcing the laws.
Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent.
And frankly, they're part of the problem. I mean, a lot of the people who are saying there's no evidence are part of the problem and know damn well that all this happened and may have even instigated it, benefited from it, paid for it, encouraged it.
The United States has a long, sordid history of voter fraud. This is not going away, everybody. It's not going away. Someone's going to have to explain what happened. There are 75 million people, somewhere around that are flipping out right now because they think their votes were stolen. They think the election was stolen. How is this going to actually come together and not end up in some type of civil war, whether it's a cold civil war, a hot civil war? Something is going to happen here, and it's not just going to go away. And for the mainstream media to do this, shame on you.
Mitt, I just want to ask you, if you're not going to object to the electors, are you prepared to be primaried? It's going to be the last time you have a chance to say something before the show gets started, buddy.
My guess is that I'll have plenty of chances to speak besides just to you. So I've already indicated I'm going to support the Constitution, just like Senator Lee.
Okay.
Traitor! Resign, Mitt! We want to know your connection to Burisma and Joe Biden, Mitt Romney. Your constituents want to know why you are not going to certify the Electoral College.
Has turned insane, frankly, and that the other law enforcement has been asked to help by Capitol Police. They have been reaching out to federal authorities and local authorities and so forth. So there are multiple security situations going on as we are seeing this unfold there in real time.
Stop the constitutional process of electors being counted for the person who won the election, Joe Biden, the president.
That maybe I, above all others in this body, need to say this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are lawfully elected and will become the president and the vice president of the United States on January the 20th.
This is not going away, everybody. It's not going away. Someone's going to have to explain what happened. There are 75 million people, somewhere around that are flipping out right now because they think their votes were stolen. They think the election was stolen. How is this going to actually come together and not end up in some type of civil war, whether it's a cold civil war, a hot civil war? Something is going to happen here, and it's not just going to go away. And for the mainstream media to do this, shame on you. You owe it to the country. God fucking damn it. New York Times, get...
This is looking at inside. Look at this. These protesters are inside Statuary Hall right now. You see the statues. This is a moment I never saw in my life. These individuals just rushed through security. They are inside Statuary Hall. This is a legendary.
A dark and dangerous moment in America's modern history. Donald Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, where lawmakers were getting ready to certify Joe Biden's election win. Instead, senators and representatives were locked down while a mob invaded. The chaos highlights how much power the outgoing president has over his followers who are trying to overthrow democracy.
Inside.
My challenge today is not about the good people of Arizona.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause.
Protesters are in the building.
Thank you.
Evacuating the other side. Take it down. Back up now. Back up.
We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Senator Schumer, how long do you think the proceedings are going to go tonight? Senator Schumer? Senator Paul? Senator Paul?
Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021, to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy.
They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed.
You traitor! You traitor! You traitor! You're a traitor! Lindsey Graham, you are a traitor to the country! You know it was rigged! You know it was rigged! You know it was rigged! You garbage human being! It's gonna be like this forever, wherever you go the rest of your life!
The FBI released wanted posters for 72 suspects.
So far, we've seen at least 83 arrests from the storm on the Capitol, and police tonight are using these shocking images to find other people of interest. Our Rich Van Wyk shares an inside look tonight at this technology, helping track them down.
Protesters who performed the unthinkable, breaking into the Capitol, endangering lives, ransacking the place, apparently weren't thinking when they showed off or smiled for the cameras. All these pictures.
That's going to be a trove of information. You have beautiful evidence of people violating the law and identifying themselves.
Facial recognition software may help investigators put names to many of these faces. According to Coons, the FBI has a database of 600 million images to compare them to.
60-year-old Richard Barnett, who put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, has been arrested in his home state of Arkansas. 35-year-old Josiah Colt of Boise, Idaho, seen hanging from the Senate balcony, says he has hired an attorney.
I didn't hurt anybody, and I just love America. I love Trump. I love what he stands for.
This knucklehead wearing furs and holding a police riot shield turns out to be Aaron Mostovsky, the son of a New York State justice.
This election was stolen. We were cheated.
The man posing beneath the sign above Nancy Pelosi's office is a firefighter from Florida, Andy Williams.
The FBI and police are now on the hunt for those who stormed into the Capitol building. An Arizona man who was spotted inside wearing a furry horned headdress has been identified. Jake Angeli, also known as Jacob Chansley, is a well-known QAnon supporter. He's been known to attend pro-Trump rallies in the Phoenix Valley. A reporter from our sister station there spoke with his mother, who says she supports her son.
It takes a lot of courage to be a patriot, okay? And to stand up for what it is that you believe and you know to be right. And not everybody wants to be the person up front.
Sure, my name is Jake Angeli. Well, one thing I can say is that a lot of the people in the media that level a lot of scrutiny at Donald Trump, level a lot of accusations at Donald Trump, could not handle even a percentage of the amount of scrutiny and the amount of allegations that are being leveled at him from so many different levels. And I think it's important that the President of the United States knows that his people support him. And I think it's important that the President of the United States knows that it isn't just the opinions of the people in the media that are out there, that there's good, patriotic Americans that see everything that he's going through and are willing to stand up and say, hey, man, I see what you're going through. I salute you. Thank you for doing your job.
With the COVID-19 vaccine set for approval this week, there are new questions about whether you will soon need to prove you've been vaccinated before heading to work, school, or vacation.
With the first COVID vaccine just weeks away in the U.S., this morning, questions swirling. Could businesses, schools, sporting events, or even airlines make you prove you've taken the shot? Qantas Airways saying it is considering requiring travelers to show proof of vaccination before boarding their international flights.
What we're looking at is how you can have a vaccination, a passport, an electronic version of it.
Several companies are working on these so-called vaccination passports, like Clear, IBM, and Change Healthcare, working in partnership with various airlines and grocery stores, like Albertsons and Walgreens, to upload lab results into an app. Businesses and large venues could ask for proof of a vaccine from the app, similar to pulling up a boarding pass on your phone.
As we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible?
For somebody who's just tuning in and they're like, okay, what? Really? Make your best case.
United Nations Agenda 21 is about inventory and control, and it's inventorying and controlling everything. So all aspects of your life, education, it's in your land use, it's in law enforcement.
What do people say? What do you say to somebody who is just saying you're a conspiracy freak?
Well, the problem, of course, is that Agenda 21 is not named Agenda 21. When you're looking at it locally, it's sustainable development. And so they can easily say that they don't know anything about it because they don't see it called Agenda 21. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy fact.
I want to address the topic of racism, inequality, and injustice. This country was founded on the principles of freedom and equality for all.
Welcome back. I wanted to cover the topic of whether employees at Facebook are depressed. From the outside, you may be seeing people with free food, free coffee, ice cream, good pay, and you think, they must be living the dream life. What do they have to complain about? Whereas in reality, a lot of them are slaves. And for some people, this may be a little hard to believe, but it's no secret in the tech industry. We have reinstitutionalized slavery, and this is largely through the H-1B visa process. The way it should work is you bring in high-skilled labor from overseas that you cannot access within the United States. Once you bring them in, you're supposed to treat them well, respect them, because they're so hard to get.
2 weeks ago, we announced Apple's Racial Equity and Justice Initiative with a commitment of $100 million. We also announced something important for this community, the new Developer Entrepreneur Camp for Black developers.
California is home to top high-tech firms like Google and Facebook, as well as many startups. They all rely on H-1B visas for skilled workers. As a result, people from China, India, Iran, and more live and work there. But earlier this year, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order demanding that immigrant hiring practices be reviewed, bringing uncertainties to the future of H-1B visas. Ro Khanna, a Democratic congressman representing Silicon Valley, says the contributions of the immigrant community are highly valuable.
We want to be challenged. People from different cultures come, they challenge, they see things differently. That leads to innovation and creativity.
Most Silicon Valley tech companies have found loopholes to bring in cheap labor that they can use and abuse. Once these workers are brought in, they're entirely under your control. And if they underperform for any reason, you can just fire them. and they will face deportation. So for the worker, their choice is they either do exactly as you say or they can be deported. Their entire livelihood could be messed up. You can pay them less, force them to work evenings and weekends, and there's really nothing they can do about it. If you've worked in Silicon Valley, this should be no mystery at all to you. Many companies, you walk inside their walls, it feels like you've gone to a third world country, like a factory of wage slaves. And managers know they can abuse these workers to their heart's content and just milk every last ounce of blood from these people.
Hey, Dinesh? I'm on the phone with the bank, and they say they need an extra form for your payroll because of your visa.
Visa? What visa? I'm a fucking U.S. citizen.
I have Dinesh Chugtai here, and he's pretty irate because... Oh, I see. Bertram Guilfoyle is the foreign national. Citizen of Canada. Okay, thank you.
And I mean, for a factory, it's a pretty nice factory. But they've had, if you count the attempted suicides, 13 so far this year. And while that is still, they have 400,000 people at this place.
A lot of Silicon Valley tech companies, they're using a tactic of hire and fire, slash and burn, rinse and repeat, churning through thousands of slaves. So the big innovation in tech over the past decade has not been React.js, some JavaScript framework or API. It's been the reintroduction of modernized slavery. And this is a lose-lose situation because American jobs are being displaced. High-skilled workers from overseas are not able to get in on the visas and get the respect that they deserve. And then anybody who's able to get in on an H-1B, skilled or not, is treated like garbage. See, there's no talent shortage. Tech companies have just invented some BS interview game as a way to filter out American candidates and give priority to cheap labor from overseas that they can have absolute control over.
We also announced something important for this community, the new Developer Entrepreneur Camp for Black developers.
It's funny that tech companies are always complaining about diversity. There's not enough women in tech, not enough black people in tech. The fact is there's plenty of diversity out there. The problem is that they're not immigrants who you can control and underpay.
Facebook became really big really quickly and are still doing everything that we can to catch up and make sure that we are getting that balance right.
And meanwhile, the middle class of America is probably being wiped out.
You're Canadian?
Your borders are merely a construct. I prefer to think of myself as a citizen of the world.
Do you mind just sending them the form, though, so that they know you're here legally?
Yes, I mind. And also, I may not be. To wit, maybe you could make out my checks to cash. Or Bitcoin.
Didn't know I was working with an illegal.
Obviously, you and I, we've heard of Bitcoin. We've heard of Ethereum. You familiar with XRP and the efforts of Ripple?
With the distributed ledger technology for their payments?
Yep.
Yes.
And my question is, can we have a approved regulatory payment rail that's blockchain based, that's available to banks and non-banks? What does that look like from a regulatory point of view?
I would just note that, for the kind of core banking architecture, I think there would probably be some changes needed in terms of the Federal Reserve System.
Now, this last expert, Mr. Ahmed, he is the head of PayPal, the head of public policy at PayPal. The text there, he references XRP. The unknown in all this is how the US government will choose to regulate. I think this is a big green flag. The United States of America is obviously, they're asking the questions. They can see that the world is trending more digital, and cryptocurrency is not only not going away, more and more cryptocurrencies are popping up every second.
Mr. Solomon, why did Goldman Sachs initially choose to open a crypto trading desk?
The first article wasn't correct. Like others, we're watching and exploring and doing work in terms of trying to understand the cryptocurrency market as it develops. We have some clients that have certain functionality that we've engaged with them on, clearing physical futures.
The JP Morgan coin is a token which is supported by a deposit at JP Morgan. So it can be shipped around the world real time. It can go with a lot of data on it. You can split it into pieces, and the second someone wants cash, we can move the cash to.
They're not called Zuckerbucks, but Facebook just reinvented digital money. Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency will launch early next year, and it's more like PayPal than Bitcoin. It's designed to be easy enough for everyone to use, but it's still complicated to understand. Since it's almost free to digitally move Libra from one account to another, you won't have to pay high credit card processing fees that can add almost 4% to your total. And some Libra wallet apps and shops will give bonus discounts or free coins for signing up and paying with Libra. Facebook knows it's a little bit creepy, and you probably don't want it spying on what you buy. So Facebook set up a new company called Calibra that will keep all of your financial data separate from your Facebook profile. That means it can't use your transaction data to target you with ads, reorder your newsfeed, or sell your info to marketers.
The IRS announcing plans to go after some cryptocurrency investors for back tax.
Because the IRS sending letters to as many as 10,000 Bitcoin holders over the coming weeks, warning them of potential tax liabilities. Now, the letters, which the IRS calls educational, says the agency has information that you have one or more accounts containing virtual currency, and that failure to pay the proper taxes could result in civil and criminal enforcement activity. Now,
take care of your business, man. Don't listen to people. Do your own business. Be careful who you listen to. Because that's the last time I let Wesley Snipes help me out with my taxes. Almost got both our ass locked up, man. Oh, kick Wesley's ass. Nino Brown's. I'm serious, man. He told me and Ron Isley the same thing. Ron Isley was pissed off. I talked to him last night. Ron's still mad about it. He said, I'm gonna kick Wesley's ass. La 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 la. I said, Ron, let it go, let it go. Wesley gonna tell us that mess. We was out one night in Hollywood. He gonna tell me we didn't have to pay taxes. Man, we ain't gotta pay no goddamn taxes, man. I said, Wesley, what the hell you talking about? I'm Blade. Blade don't pay no goddamn taxes. You pay taxes, huh? G Money, you ain't gotta pay no taxes, G Money. I ain't G Money, I'm Chris. What the hell is you talking about? This ain't New Jack City. Wesley, stop smoking that stuff.
I actually don't know if Libra is gonna work. But I believe that it's important to try new things.
When Facebook first announced it was getting into the crypto business, with a basically unregulated currency called Libra, the reaction from Wall Street and government bankers was about as expected.
Libra raises a lot of serious concerns.
I'm not a big fan of what they're doing there. I think it's a big mistake.
It was a neat idea that will never happen. And I have nothing else to say about it.
Libra is in trouble. The social media giant had lined up a long list of corporate backers for the initiative, including major players in the payment space. In early October 2019, PayPal became the first company to back out of the Libra coalition.
I like the Libra concept, but you gotta drop it. It's clearly doing more harm than good.
Facebook, though, also has a ton of baggage. Think 2016 presidential election and Russian hacking kind of baggage. So when a company that big and that influential plans to introduce a product that could potentially disrupt the global financial community, you can see why US lawmakers are paying even closer attention to the social media giant.
Homepage of PayPal in 2000. Elon was a co-founder, and the company was sold to eBay in 2002 for $1.5 billion.
And it seemed to me that there hadn't been all that much innovation in the financial sector. And given that money is kind of just an entry in a database, and it was low bandwidth, it was, what was something compelling that could be done? And I thought, well, if we can combine all types of financial services in one, so you could have like mortgages, like basically all your entire financial relationship seamlessly integrated together in one place online, that would be cool. And then there was a little feature that just seemed like an obvious feature, which was the ability to transfer money from one person to another by entering a unique identifier like an email address. That was like just a sort of a little feature, but then whenever we demonstrate the product, people wouldn't get excited about the consolidated financial services, but they would get excited about emailing money.
You mentioned the startup of PayPal, which is a great innovation that happened in sort of how we pay for things. That seems to me an area in which there hasn't been as much subsequent innovation. Are you somewhat disappointed with the way PayPal then proceeded, or are you disappointed with the lack of innovation in the digital currency environment?
Yeah, PayPal has definitely, I mean, it hasn't moved much since from when it was sort of bought by eBay. The long-term vision that it had for PayPal to convert the financial system from a series of heterogeneous, insecure databases to one database. Money is just a number in a database. That's what it is. And it's primarily an information mechanism for labor allocation. And the current databases are not very efficient. Like there are these old legacy mainframes that don't talk to each other very well, have poor security, and only do batch processing once a day.
Are you glad PayPal is being spun off?
It's probably the right move.
A few months later, I walk home and I walk by the library that I live next door to, and there's all these police there, and I go home and find out what happened. And I had heard of this thing called the Silk Road. I'd heard about this. I knew about this for about a year or two. And I go home and I look up what happened. And they go, Ross Ulbright was arrested, and for being the founder of Silk Road.
Now to that stunning arrest of the drug kingpin who goes by the name Dread Pirate Roberts. Appears to have cornered the internet drug market. His real name is Ross Ulbricht, and his website Silk Road is packed with products like cocaine and heroin.
And I was
so explain Silk Road if you don't know what it is.
So Silk Road, it was like eBay but for drugs and murder, and you could buy anything online and use Silk Road, and it sold $2 billion worth of merchandise in only 2 years. And Ross was the sole owner, and now if we look at Bitcoin price, he had roughly $10 billion in Bitcoin that he had made.
Operating an online black market bazaar called Silk Road, often referred to as the eBay for drugs. Just look at some of the 13,000 items offered through that underground site. Ultra clean cocaine, clean and real LSD, high grade MDMA, also known as Molly, all with fast and free shipping.
And the feds had been tracking him, and he tried to kill, he did a couple hired hits.
Jeez.
Where he tried to get someone killed, but the person on the other end was an FBI agent, so they went and staged the murders, and he did that multiple times, so he thought he had killed 3 or 4 guys.
Right.
And
investigators say Ulbricht tried to execute a murder for hire on that user, offering $150,000 to a would-be hitman because, quote, "This kind of behavior is unforgivable to me, especially here on Silk Road. Anonymity is sacrosanct."
When I got home, I looked it up. I was like, holy shit, that's Ross. I know Ross. He was this guy the whole time.
And so you had hung out with him before?
Yeah.
And what was he, a cool guy? Did he say? What did you ask? What do you do?
Yeah, he was just a guy, just a charming
Did you know he ran?
I looked him up on LinkedIn. He said he was a equities trader. Or like a bank, like some
technically true.
Hiding his identity on Silk Road with the username Dread Pirate Roberts, just like in the movie The Princess Bride.
You're the Dread Pirate Roberts, admit it.
With pride.
We're going to fucking jail. We on tape. That's all fans had to say. Got your ass on tape. Scariest thing you can do. You guys don't even realize that you're the feds for free. You're not even getting paid for fucking free. You're just telling on people all goddamn day. It's a bunch of walking fucking snitches. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I went to McDonald's. This is a true story. I go to McDonald's. I want a Big Mac meal. I haven't had a Big Mac in the longest time. I'm so excited for this fucking Big Mac. Smashing it all over my face, everything. I'm happy as hell. I turn to my left. It's a woman outside the window taping me. She said, "Got your ass." What the fuck you mean, got my ass? What am I doing? I grabbed my phone. I went to Twitter. I issued an apology via social media. I said, I'm sorry. The reason why I apologize is because 2 days earlier, I announced that I was going plant-based full-time. I just said it. This video was detrimental to everything that I stood for at the moment. Became an ally. Made a donation, was a part of protest. I had to do what I could. One of my biggest fears is my son growing up and being gay. If I can prevent my son from being gay, I will. Every kid has a gay moment, okay? Every kid. But when it happens, you gotta nip it in the bud. You gotta stop it right there. Hey, stop! That's gay! It's quick. No!
Why they probably hired Hart. He's a beloved African-American performer in this age of Oscars so white, and because of what he said at the MTV Video Music Awards, Laura, earlier this year. You'll remember he sided with the NFL kneelers and he told the president, quote, Trump, suck it.
Just got a call from the Academy, and that call basically said, Kevin, apologize for your tweets of old, or we're going to have to move on and find another host. Talking about the tweets from 2009, 2010. I chose to pass. I passed on the apology. The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times.
Many of us really need to keep the conversation going. It's life or death. And someone like Kevin Hart, with one of the biggest megaphones in the world, can be a leader, the ultimate change agent. He can help change homophobia in the black community. Something Kevin's old Twitter jokes addressed, but in the wrong way.
I'm on social media every day. I got over 40,000 tweets. To go through 40,000 tweets to get back to 2008, that's an attack. That's a malicious attack on my character. That's an attack to end me. That's not an attack to just stop the Oscars. This is what I want people to understand. That's an attack to end me.
Last week, Hart appeared on Ellen, on The Ellen Show, where he talked about how he was sorry and wanted to move on from old homophobic jokes and tweets of his. He told Ellen that he had addressed these jokes in the past. But we and others couldn't find any previous apologies, just what he said that he had addressed them and what some saw as excuses.
I understand why people are hurt. I understand what these words mean. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said it again when I stepped down. I apologize. I wrote it. I said it. Right? I know I did. I don't like the forcing. I don't like Don Lemon goes on CNN and he's like, you can fix this, become an ally. That's not my life dream. Kevin Hart apologizes for his remarks that hurt members of the LGBTQ community.
He said, but it is not his dream to be an ally for the LGBT community. But I will tell you, for me, as I relate to him, and I can talk about my part, he's not a victim. So maybe he now knows just a little bit more of what that feels like.
What are you, jock, huh? Ladies, man, nerd, which one?
Class clown. I was a class clown. Back in high school, I was a class clown. Because I was the one I was just making everybody laugh. I was the one who I would throw my voice. And be like, hey, he did the thing. And then he'd get into hey, he did the thing, and they'd get in trouble. Yeah, that was me. That was me. Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
I don't like what you guys have made me become, man. I don't like it. I'm no longer comfortable. Fuck. You look at us like, what the fuck is wrong with him? We're the weird people. I don't know how to fucking act in public. Hey, man, why you staring at? What's going on, man? Fuck you about to do to me, man. You about to eat me, ain't you? Come on, man.
Bit about technology is particularly with the 2020 election coming up, is this idea of deep fakes. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. And the technology to create this nowadays, to create a deep fake, which essentially just means you're doctoring a photo or video and making it do what you want it to do to try to convince people of whatever it is. Technology is advancing, and it's stunning what can be done.
Do you know who Kyle Dunnigan is?
Kyle Dunnigan? I should know.
Hilarious stand-up comedian, but he shines in doing deep fakes.
Jennifer, over here to your right.
I hope I don't. I hope I'm never in that situation where I'm like, all the housewives are here. Anyway, actually, I take that back. I do want to be in that situation.
Jennifer, over here.
Yes,
to your
Sam
right.
Smith? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I have a follow-up about Amy Schumer. You guys said you were going to dress as twins this evening, and I'm
Yeah, but then
why
I
you didn't.
blew it. I blew it by talking about it, because then if we did it, it would have been expected, So we just wore our own thing. But I hope you were still satisfied by our presentation.
They actually.
What?
We were just talking about streaming services.
I dozed off. I'm sorry.
Did you know that, George?
Are we boring you, George?
Yeah,
I heard.
We're boring you? As
He's a
one of the
legend.
pioneers of film technology and furthering the art of cinema, your take on streaming services?
Well, I've said before that digital was the future. Now we got this bullshit. Sorry, Ewan. I really can't believe you sold out and you're doing this horse's ass shit. Remember when JJ was going around shilling for the Force Awakens, and they were just, guess what, everybody, we're shooting it on 35 millimeter. Like Joe Average in the middle states gives a shit. He doesn't care. He just wants to see the effects. Oh, we're using puppets. It doesn't give a shit.
It's fascinating to see this.
Well, but what you just showed, I mean, people look at that and they go, okay, but you're right. The Elon Musk thing is getting closer to
that one's creepy. That could be a
bone.
real guy.
But
you could have someone like that say, "Give me $1 million, or I'll blow your house up."
Or just come on.
Yeah.
And imagine if he gave, some off-the-cuff financial data on Tesla. Talked about it as if he'd just come out of a shareholder call, and now he was releasing some information. I mean, think about what that means to all of a sudden the stock price of a company if that happens. But
Tesla CEO Elon Musk is the subject of a new controversy after he appeared to smoke marijuana during a podcast interview. Musk was a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience Thursday. And on Friday, Tesla's stock also took a hit, plunging more than 6% to $263 per share.
There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
Smoking what podcast host Joe Rogan said was a marijuana and tobacco joint is just the newest controversy for Elon Musk, whose Tesla company is mired in a federal investigation and faces shareholder lawsuits.
Is going on Rogan's show in a state, with a drug that, if it was just, who cares if it was legal? It was alcohol. Would you want your CEO of a public company to be going on, guzzling alcohol and getting drunk on air? No, it's a recklessness and shows a certain self-destructiveness. So it's his judgment, but also the judgment of the board that this place is still so out of control.
And this happened.
Or is it a cigar?
No.
Okay.
It's marijuana
it's
inside
weed.
of tobacco.
Okay. So it's like pot tobacco
Yeah.
pods.
You never had that?
Yeah, I think I tried one once.
Come on, man. You want some of that? You probably can't because of stockholders, right?
Did you hear what he said? Yep. You probably can't because of stockholders, right? First of all.
See, I really think this is one of the reasons why so many people are so fucked up and so depressed. I think the world of showing up to a place and then having your behavior limited into this very narrow and rigid parameters all day long, and your livelihood and your success of your family and whether or not you can send your kids to a good school, all that dependent upon whether or not you're willing to play the rules.
Yeah.
You have to wear an outfit with a suit and a tie because if you don't, you might be unpredictable.
You ever lit a joint around people that don't just light joints around people?
Yeah, Elon Musk. I crashed Tesla's stock by $9 billion or some shit.
And so the problem we're facing now is it's not just everybody's kind of aware of the sort of the Twitterverse or whatever, the Twitter and the trolls that exist on there and the bots and all of that, but it's the video, the ability to do the video, the effort to try to identify doctored videos, right? Particularly when you're talking about elections, campaigns. It's going to be an increasing problem that we're not really discussing that much.
Can she see me yet?
I can.
This is pretty cool technology you got here. So let me try to. We're playing footsies. We should have done this in outer space. We could have both been sitting on like Neptune in a bubble. Hey, what have you been doing for fun?
I have not left home since March 8th.
At all?
I went to an eye doctor's appointment because I could no longer fix my eye infection on telemedicine. And then I went for a mammogram.
Yeah, I asked what did you do for fun? Eye doctors and mammograms do not qualify.
I just want to ask you, what was the one word that would best describe how you felt when it was announced that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the next president and vice president of the United States?
I was thrilled.
Joe Biden.
First of all, obviously Joe is somebody who stood by me on every major decision I had for 8 years. He's become a brother, a genuinely good friend. Kamala is one of my earliest supporters when I first launched my presidency. So I'm personally invested in them. It's not going to immediately solve every problem that we have because you have enormous challenges around COVID and the economic after effects. You've got long-standing issues like racial bias in the criminal justice system and rising inequality.
You've been over, visited me. I know your kids. Is this being passed on?
Yes.
Children?
Our 2-year-old right now, I'll say, how old are you? And she goes, I'm 4.5.
Bigger a little bit.
Yeah. I'm 4.5, father. You got to get out of here. Get out of this. It's a bomb in there. Get out. Dad, come on. You got to go. I need to pull up on now. And we're going to watch Peppa Pig. Come on.
I love Schwarzenegger as a baby. Yeah. This is so much fun.
I want to watch Doc McStuffin. And then I need my yogurts. Come on. I threw up. I need Pedialyte.
Okay, I'm just curious, were you? I'm trying to think. Yeah, you can't.
No, I can't stop. Sorry. This is.
You broke my heart, 'cause I couldn't dance. You didn't even want me around. And now I'm back to let you know I can really shake them down. Do you love me? I can really move. Do you love me? Cause me had hurt real bad and cried myself to sleep. Show me how this town shattered dreams. Another lesson.
Clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Get him off me!
Can't let you take the man's wheels, son. Now get off before I put you down. That's it, goddammit.
Brewster,
We're hoping to hell here you got some kind of solution for us.
I know what you're looking for, sir, but Skynet is not ready for a system-wide connection.
That's not what your civilian counterparts over there just told me. They say we can stop this damn virus. Now, I understand there's a certain amount of performance anxiety over there, but your boys are saying that if we plug Skynet into all of our systems, it'll squash this thing like a bug and give me back control of my military.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
now.
Ignition. Lift off.
It is going! Yes! Yes! Oh!
Starship take flight!
Yes! There's a new flight record right there, my friend! I cannot tell you how surreal this is. Pull to the wide shot, Andrew. If you have it still there.
It's turning. It's turning.
Already. Oh my God!
Skynet defense system
We're in.
now activated.
Past the firewalls, local defense nets, Minutemen, and subs.
Skynet fully operational, processing at 60 teraflops per second.
Sir, it should take less than a minute to find the virus and kill it. All access inquiries to your supervisor.
Let's pray to God this works.
Skynet.
And in about 30 seconds will be those 3 events: MECO, main engine cutoff, stage separation, and SES-1.
Second stage is on a nominal trajectory. That's really good news. And speaking of second stage, right as the drone ship lands, you should hear the call out for SECO-1. That's a call out. Let's wait till we get that video again. There we go. That's all 60 of those Starlink satellites on their merry way. It's a beautiful sight.
Defense system now activated.
Power failure? No. I don't know what it is.
Maybe that's okay.
I don't think that's okay.
Guys, it's right above the site again.
The flip, here comes, it's about the bottom dropping a little bit.
Guys, this is actually looking like it's working.
I cannot believe what I'm seeing.
No freaking way. Okay, here we go. Rewind. Yes. No way. No way.
No.
Oh my God. No, we lost an engine right at the end. Yes.
What are you doing here?
Watch out!
duck with stuffing. And then I need my yogurt. Come on. I threw up. I need Pedialyte.
It's pretty clear we could almost eliminate car accidents with automation.
With each search, we train it to be better. Sometimes we type in the search and it tells us the answer before you have finished asking the question.
I think most of the guys, the only guys I have trouble with are the Google guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Larry and Sergey you have trouble with?
Larry specifically. I think...
Larry per se?
Yeah, Larry per se.
Why?
Because he makes the decisions over there. He runs that company. No one else runs that company. And they decided, let me be very clear.
But I mean, you think they're evil?
I think what they did was absolutely evil.
And you blame Larry Page?
100% Larry Page.
So if what they did is evil, that makes Larry Page evil?
No, it makes what he did evil, which is quite different. And I know his slogan is "Don't be evil."
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about.
And I think he slipped up this one time.
A neural net is something very close to a simulation of how the brain works. It's very probabilistic, but with contextual relevance. The average person, they don't see killer robots going down the streets. They're like, what are you talking about? Man, we want to make sure we don't have killer robots going down the street. Once they're going down the street, it is too late. Google acquired DeepMind several years ago. DeepMind operates as a semi-independent subsidiary of Google. The thing that makes DeepMind unique is that DeepMind is absolutely focused on creating digital superintelligence, an AI that is vastly smarter than any human on Earth and ultimately smarter than all humans on Earth combined. DeepMind's AI has administrator-level access to Google's servers to optimize energy usage at the data centers. However, this could be an unintentional Trojan horse. DeepMind has to have complete control of the data centers, so with a little software update, that AI could take complete control of the whole Google system, which means they can do anything. They can look at all your data, you can do anything. We're rapidly headed towards digital superintelligence that far exceeds any human. I think it's very obvious. AI doesn't have to be evil to destroy humanity. If AI has a goal and humanity just happens to be in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course, without even thinking about it. No hard feelings. It's just like if we're building a road and an anthill happens to be in the way, we don't hate ants. We're just building a road. And so goodbye anthill. We have 5 years. I think digital superintelligence will happen in my lifetime. 100%. I think it's incredibly important that AI not be other. It must be us. And I could be wrong about what I'm saying. I'm certainly open to ideas if anybody can suggest a path that's better. But I think we're really going to have to either merge with AI or be left behind.
But what point would it be alarming for you in terms of government surveillance? At what point would your red line be crossed?
If the government used it to do political targeting, if the Democrats used it to go after Republicans, if the Republicans used it to go after Democrats. In other words, if it became we stopped looking for terrorists and we started looking for people with on the other side of the aisle.
As hundreds of thousands of Muslims disappear into giant secure facilities, China has begun taking a few selected journalists inside. These are places where adults wear uniforms, but sleep up to 10 a room, sharing a toilet, with no idea how many months or years it will be before they can return to their families.
if they don't want.
Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, who sits on the House Intel Committee, reportedly has ties to a Chinese spy, that alleged agent apparently trying to influence American politicians. And now Republican lawmakers are demanding answers.
Eric Swalwell, who has used his office to promote Beijing's talking points, almost word for word, ones that matter, by the way, a man who admits to a close personal relationship with an actual Chinese spy who helped him get elected to Congress, raised money for him, and put an intern, probably another spy, in his office. That man continues to serve on the House Intelligence Committee, where he has unrestricted access to classified information. How is this happening?
Into the mystery now surrounding tech tycoon Jack Ma. The billionaire founder of China's giant online retailer Alibaba has not been seen in public since October, when he blasted Chinese regulators in a speech that drew fire from China's leaders and
He's one of the world's wealthiest tech entrepreneurs, worth an estimated $50 billion.
No matter we are from a country big, small, rich or poor, everybody should have the equal chance to compete.
But for the past 2 months, Jack Ma, the flamboyant founder of e-commerce giant Alibaba, the closest thing in China to Amazon, hasn't been seen in public. The famously outspoken 56-year-old making headlines in October after delivering a speech critical of the Chinese government, accusing financial regulators of suffocating innovation and likening its banks to behaving like pawn shops. The 20-minute speech drawing the ire of the Chinese government and triggering an antitrust investigation into his company. 1 week later, the billionaire and his team were summoned to Beijing for a dressing down. He hasn't been seen publicly since, even
Big piece, for example, on Good Morning America this morning, arguing that he is, in fact, missing.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, you know, I've made some calls on this, as you might expect. And what I can tell you is this. He's very likely in Hangzhou, which is the where the headquarters, of course, Alibaba is. He's no longer, you know, sometimes we forget, no longer involved with either one of these companies. He's no longer involved with the management of Alibaba. He is being less visible purposefully. And you can expect that that will continue to be the case for some time. He ran afoul of the, as Jim just said, the government, the PRC.
The Uyghur situation is shockingly undercovered.
Oh my God. Well, it demonstrates that when people said never again, they were full of crap. They're just full of crap. I mean, it's just not true. And this is one area where the United States should absolutely be taking a leading role. It is obvious that China is a nefarious actor. China has been stealing our technology. The Chinese government is attempting to extend its rule of tyranny over Hong Kong. They just subjected 7.5 million people to their direct tyranny in violation of treaty. And the response has basically been muted from the Western world. And did you see that video of the Chinese ambassador in Britain being asked on the BBC about that tape?
The Chinese government has sent more than 1 million Uyghurs, a Muslim minority ethnic group, to centres like this for what it calls voluntary job training. US officials have previously described them as concentration camps, and newly leaked cables reinforce reports that they are centres for forced ideological and behavioural re-education.
No, I didn't.
It's fantastic. So the BBC interviewer shows him the tape of the people being pushed onto trains, right? And he says, "What is this?" And the Chinese ambassador says, "I can't see it. I'm not sure what you're talking about." He's literally saying that the screen is huge. It's right behind him. Like he's looking right at it. And he acts as though he can't see it. And then he starts talking about the natural beauty of the region.
This is almost certainly over northern China, over Xinjiang. Can you tell us what is happening here?
I cannot see, this video. This is not the first time you show me. I still remember last year you showed me what is happening in Xinjiang.
Xinjiang, exactly.
But let me tell you this. Xinjiang, have you been to Xinjiang yourself?
No, I never have.
You know, Xinjiang is regarded as the most beautiful place in Xinjiang. There's a Chinese saying, you do not know how big China is.
Ambassador, that is not beautiful coverage, however, is it?
Right, he won't deal with it. He won't explain what it is, and the rest of the world is just like, well, you know what.
9:30 next day, we met at the hospital gate and headed towards the Western Mountain execution ground. My chief surgeons then ordered and guided me, extracted the liver and 2 kidneys. The man was alive. He tried to resist my scalpel cut, but too weak to avoid my action. I thought I was carrying my duty to eliminate the enemy of the state. It is not acceptable that a normal buy one get one free shopping pattern can be seen in organ transplantation. Pre-date for your heart transplantation means that they make someone dead for you. Giving away organs to promote business means they have organ of plenty.
If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, or it goes to the second round at the DNC convention, Milwaukee will murder. It'll start in Milwaukee, and then when the police push back on that, and other cities.
We are out here in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in front of one of several structure fires, this one being an office store on the street. The heat is so intense, we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk back this direction. To my left, you can see we're in front of a car lot, which has been completely vandalized by members.
And if your speech is calling for the elimination of people based on race or gender or religious, like for whatever reason, like things that people can't change, then you should expect a violent reaction. And you deserve a violent reaction.
When a man standing in front of this parking garage was shot. Not much is known publicly about what led to this moment, but the victim has been linked to a pro-Trump group.
Since December 2018, China's biggest company, Huawei, has been rocked by political and legal turmoil.
Huawei, a company that a lot of Americans may not have even heard about until just recently.
The FBI is investigating Huawei's dealings with this tiny Chicago area startup.
Huawei can create a backdoor to China.
The Trump administration has been on a campaign to block Huawei from selling equipment for 5G networks in the U.S. and to allies abroad, claiming the company poses a national security threat. Speak to the company's customers and they paint a different picture. To them, Huawei makes reliable, affordable equipment without equal.
Donald Trump's decision has come at a key moment in negotiations with the Chinese government about future trade relations between the countries.
We're having a little squabble with China because we've been treated very unfairly for many, many decades, for actually a long time. And it should have been handled a long time ago, and it wasn't, and we'll handle it now. I think it's going to turn out extremely well. We're in a very strong position. We are the piggy bank that everybody likes to take advantage of or take from, and we can't let that happen anymore.
And we are not going to take the word. My father told me when I was a child, people in authority lie. And we all, if we are going to continue to live in a democracy, we need to understand that people and right now we are giving them the power to micromanage every bit of our lives 24 hours a day. They're going to know where we are. We're going to know the money that we spend. They're going to have access to our children. They're going to have the right to compel unwanted medical interventions on us. The Nazis did that in the camps in World War II. They tested vaccines on gypsies and Jews. And the world was so horrified after the war, we signed the Nuremberg Charter. And we all pledged when we do that, we would never again impose unwanted medical interventions on human beings without informed consent. And yet in 2 years, all of that conviction has suddenly disappeared.
Get used to it because we're going to be seeing it 24/7. Son of a bitch. Goddamn Kennedys. I'm looking at the goddamn Kennedys.
Jimmy, the kids' language.
Oh, what difference does it make? I mean, they got to learn sooner or later. We're going to war with these people.
The mass media daily give us conflicting information. What is clear, however, is that it has been used by certain forces inimical to families and to the freedom of nations to advance their evil agenda. These forces tell us that we are now the subjects of the so-called Great Reset, the new normal, which is dictated to us by their manipulation of citizens and nations through ignorance and fear.
And I understand why they want to defeat Trump more and more every day, because he doesn't answer to anyone except you. So now the Economic Forum is talking about the Great Reset. And I just want to read to you what they've been, what they're up to. No jobs, few crops, coronavirus, and pests leave Nepal fearing hunger. How Europe can emerge stronger out of the coronavirus. Although some people have been warning us, like Bill Gates in his 2015 TED Talk, we were underprepared. For the Great Reset to succeed, we have to change the way we do business and manage health, nature, the environment, and societal issues at the same time. We know that the world will spend trillions of dollars on repairing our economies from this disaster through debt relief programs. Oh, really? They're going to relieve our debt? Income support programs, fiscal stimuli, and other interventions. It would be a wasted opportunity then only to focus on a restart. Part of these trillions has got to go to reset and reform our societies instead of simply restart.
1984 is, I believe, a quite terrifying masterpiece. So terrifying, in fact, I don't think I should like to read another like it.
I'm not absolutely dissatisfied with it. I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. But always there will be the intoxication of power. Always, at every moment, there will be the thrill of victory, the sensation of trampling on an enemy who is helpless. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
The only thing that you and I have in common, Mr. Creedy, is we're both about to die.
How do you imagine that's going to happen?
With my hands around your neck.
Has turned insane, frankly, and that the other law enforcement has been asked to help by Capitol Police. They have been reaching out to federal authorities and local authorities and so forth. So there are multiple security situations going on as we are seeing this unfold there in real time.
You're anonymous. We are legion. United as one. Divided by zero. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
No expression, hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Large and open.